It is because of ecosystem services only the life on this planet Earth is able to sustain for so long a period, 3.8 billion years. Simple thing. We are breathing in, inhaling atmospheric oxygen, and then breathing out carbon dioxide from our bodies. And that carbon dioxide, if it is just before our nose, we will not be able to again breathe fresh air. The ecosystem service is rendering, due to the turbulence activity in the atmosphere, the carbon dioxide just before our nose is replaced by the fresh atmospheric oxygen, and along with carbon dioxide also part of the air component. Therefore, ecosystem services are very essential, and we are very happy that Sri Raghuveer Garu is going to enlighten us on that topic. Sri Raghuveer Garu now for 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shastri Garu. And the theme for this year is time for nature in the context of biodiversity conservation. So, apna time aayega, that's what nature says. And all of us have to realize this. I would be focusing on two concepts. One is the basic ecosystem services, which we take for granted without realizing their value. And second is what, I mean, just attending a webinar on biodiversity, is it adequate for you to be doing great for environment, or are you going to, as an individual, do something towards environment? I'll take you back to this particular publication, which has revolutionized the American society. What documentation can do. This is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. When it was published, in spite of so much of what you call resistance from people, especially the pharmaceutical industries, ultimately government had to bow down to the civil society and then bring in changes in their laws, especially against the soil pollution. Against the pesticides that are being used indiscriminately by the farmers. And ultimately it led to the US Environment Agency also being set up. Now, why I'm saying is that subsequent to this, I mean, this Rachel's work was almost for 10 years, where they recognized that fertilizers and pesticides are not good for our planet Earth. Subsequently, India followed the Green Revolution path and then liberal dosages of chemicals. And now, again, the cycle has come back and we are now talking about organic farming, which we were doing earlier. The other one, which I would like the listeners, viewers, participants to read is about this biomimicry book. I know it's a particularly, it's an innovation inspired by nature, very nicely documented, because many people say, why should we conserve biodiversity? I mean, I've seen politicians saying, what if a spider is lost? What if a frog is lost? What if a scorpion is lost? And things like that. I mean, there's so much to learn from these nice creatures. I would like you to go through this particular book, which can actually make your life much better in terms of understanding what we can learn. I would also like you to go to this particular wonderful website, which has got excellent resources, asknature.org. You can even say how people and creatures survive in salt water, or what sort of mechanisms they have, and a whole lot of things. I mean, there's a tremendous resource available. For want of time, I'll not go into specific, but biomimicry is excellent sort of a initiative where we are trying to learn from nature and then trying to improve things. You all know that we have enough for our needs, but not for greed. And as you can see, the population figures, it's increasing. I mean, from 2.3 billion expected to cross 9 billion. And by 2050, incidentally, you may also see the End Game 2050 documentary, which is available on YouTube, to understand what is going to happen in 2050 if we are not mending our ways. And as you can see, the natural resources are also not keeping pace with that. There is a Earth Overshoot Day which is monitored, which means that for a given year you have certain ration, and if you are actually consuming it much before 31st December, that is what the overshoot day. And unfortunately, last year it reached 29 July. That means from 30th July 2019, we were living on the resources meant for 2020. So at this rate, the scientists estimate we need one more planet to survive. So it's better to wake up. I would like you to go through the overshootday.org. Excellent solutions are given there. You can see how simply by changing your food habits, you can delay this overshoot by 38 days. I mean, that's the sort of a projections which are given there by being conscious about what you eat. Bhutan, as you know, as a hills country with almost more than 80% forestry, but still they're concerned about forest. And they don't measure their what you call country's progress in terms of money, but in terms of happiness of the citizens. So they have a GDH, gross domestic happiness, which has got much to do with the nature. You can see if they have a better environment, people are healthy, happy, and they can contribute much better. So money doesn't matter. It is a happiness that matters. And quite a few countries have also understood the significance of our role of forests in the national economy, where per capita GDP, this is a small country, you can see how much of forests are contributing to national economy, which is not always reflected in the economic figures. There is always a debate between land use, whether it should be kept under forest or allow encroachment and then convert it into agriculture. Now there is a study from Netherlands which indicates for a given area, which is a Roggevillei forest, 5,500 hectares, when they've estimated the contribution, economic benefits to the society by the forest is coming to almost 2,000 euros per hectare per year, which is 3 times if the same area was to be brought under plow and cultivated. I mean, that's a sort of a significant. I would like the participants to also go through this fantastic book, which is available on the FAO website, The World's Forest Status in 2016, where categorically, again, it says you can actually ensure food security, not by having more area of forest converted to agriculture, but agriculture intensification. And there are several case studies which are there. I would request all of you to go through and then see how much of it we can actually do it, because our quality of life cannot be ensured without the quality of biodiversity. I'll just take 1 second on the ancient wisdom, Prithvi Sukta, which is a well-known poem from Atharva Veda, way back in 5000 BC. It says that we shall not overexploit Mother Earth. We should not take more from Earth than it can regenerate. This is what we call about sustainable management of forest. And regarding water, it talks about in the Ishopanishad that whatever water falls from the earth, that is from the sky, it should be conserved both above and below the earth's surface, so that it is available to all living beings. I mean, the emphasis is tanker business, and the only water we get is the rainwater. And of course, what I'm saying is been said earlier, but since people have not acted, we have to keep saying these things. I'll not go into details of this ecosystem services for want of time, but broadly, you can see there are provisioning, regulating, cultural and supporting services. You say the direct tangible benefits, as we call provisioning services, the food, the water, the firewood, the genetic resources. The regulation, which is less understood, less appreciated about water, climate, and pollination, which is an important aspect of the ecosystem services. Cultural services, the spiritual recreation and sense of place, inspirational like Himalayas. I mean, a whole lot of things are there. And of course, the overlying the soil cycle and nutrient cycle, primary production, which are all the ecosystem services. Dr. Shastrikar was mentioning the number of species. I would like to just flag here. There is an estimated 50 million to 50 lakh, I think, to 300 lakhs species available. We have discovered about 18 lakhs so far of the species, and even IUCN, the redlist.org, if you see, periodically they assess just about 3% of the known species, which is 45,000. The status is pretty bad in terms of the rate of extinction and rate of species becoming threatened. Major issue is habitat loss, and most of the species we are doing it. Now, I would like to just give you one small case study about birds we take for granted, what services. We have our blue jay, the Palapita, our state bird of Telangana. Similarly, there is a bird called Eurasian jay, which serves a lot of ecosystem services. That's what scientists have studied in a national park in Sweden, 655 hectares. What this bird does is in the Quercus forest there in the Stockholm National Park, it picks up the acorn of the oak trees and then digs the soil and keeps it for posterity in terms of for its food only. And it also helps in removing some insects and pests and also helps in pollination. Now, scientists there suddenly said, what if this bird becomes extinct and we have to get this work done using machines or people, how much does it cost? And as you can see in those days, the study in which was done using the replacement cost method, $6.2 million per annum, or almost 3 crores per month. If you want to engage a bird as your employee, I mean, you have to spend a salary of 3 crores per month. I don't know anyone in this discussion today is earning that much. So the birds are doing it. So this was often circulated in the WhatsApp about number of trees per person. We are way below the world average of 422. So India, there is a scope. In Telangana, we have taken up a massive planting program under Telangana Arthaharam, in which 230 crores, which is the third largest such program in the world after Brazil and China. And we would like to increase it, but still there's a lot of scope for doing it, because why we need trees is, if you see each tree, if it is allowed to live for 50 years, gives you 15,70,000. This is a study of 1980. And you can see number 5, where habitat, shelter for birds, squirrels, insects, that's about 2.5 lakhs worth. I mean, that's what the major role it plays. But current value, if you see, almost each tree can give you 58 lakhs or 60 lakhs, you can say. At least 1 lakh per annum, you can say, over a period of 50-year lifespan, it gives to the entire society. So don't cut it for firewood, for timber, for encroachment, for smuggling, whatever it is. So these are important services which we are doing it. And all of us are familiar with this bottle we buy for 20 rupees a liter. And we don't really think too much about it. But waterfalls in the forest, which is a major catchment area, major cities are all getting from rivers, like we get from Krishna water to Hyderabad, almost 200 kilometers away, the catchment area. And we don't pay even a single paisa for the catchment area development in our water bill. And you can see, this is, I just picked up the different brands of water. I mean, I was surprised. There's Kona Nigari is the costliest water available. It is from Kona, Hawaii, Pacific Sea, Japan. They sell almost 27,000 rupees and people are willing to buy, you know. People have rich. But I met this wonderful person as a Karim. People from Kerala would be familiar with him. He's a farmer in Parappa in Kasargod. I went there as an election observer and then took time to visit him, spent a lot of time. What he does is he has 32 acres of land, dry land, which he started developing with a vision of conserving biodiversity and ensuring people from all over the world should come to his place and see. So he was ridiculed initially by the people saying that there's no water for us. You are pouring water on these plants which will never grow. But he never gave up. And then today, if you see this man, because he started late 70s, this process, when the well in that area used to give 500 liters per day. Today, the same well gives 1 lakh liters per day. And he actually gives this water free of cost to the villagers who were ridiculing him when he was putting water to the plants. I mean, this is what one individual could transform. And his lesson is there in the 6th class books of Kerala curriculum. I mean, that's an inspirational story. Coming quickly to the last segment, which is the ISR, which is my favorite thing, is individual social responsibility. Everybody is talking about CSR, but before corporate social responsibility, there is a community social responsibility. And then we have primarily the individual social responsibility. And I'm not saying just because I'm a Forest Service officer, but in the Indian Constitution, Article 51 AG, fundamental duties talks about if you are an Indian citizen, you shall protect and improve our forests, lakes, water bodies, and wildlife, and to have compassion for all living creatures. And as people will see that, okay, I become a Buddhiman Balak, will it be sufficient? But millions of people taking small actions, you cannot undermine. I'll just give you a couple of examples and then conclude. You know this forest man, Jadhav Payong, a very inspirational story. As a 16-year-old, he started his journey in the Brahmaputra area in Assam, Jorhat, and he wanted to save snakes of all the creatures by having more greenery, because he has seen many snakes dying in the floods in Brahmaputra. Then he started probably in 78, 79. And today, single-handedly, he has created 1,360 acres, and it is still growing a forest. So where snakes used to die, the same area today, you have elephants coming and rhinos coming and tigers coming or whatever. A lot of species are thriving in that forest created by the forest man, Jadhav Payong. And he's an individual. His passion is that he got married, he got children, but he didn't leave his post. Our own Padma Shri Ramaya, our Vanajeevi, I mean, for the last 40 years, ever since I joined the service, I've been seeing him. He goes in the cycle now. He has got a two-wheeler, courtesy some of the environmentalists. And he is, he can't even hear, but his wife supports him. And these people go on promoting tree planting, collection of seed growing trees, and wonderful. There are so many such people. All they need is a little bit of sabashi on their back and support in their venture. Coming closer to Hyderabad, this fellow is a Jafar Syed, class 8. One of our EPIC members, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan, went to this school and gave a lecture like all of us are doing. Tree planting is good. And everybody listened, clapped. But this man, Jafar Syed, went home and started planting in his home. He was not satisfied. He went to the neighbor's home, then the entire colony. He started planting. Then subsequently, one park which was abandoned and a lot of garbage and antisocial elements. That park, this Jafar Syed and the kid Vanar Sena, as we call them, they revived, they removed all the muck there and planted almost 120, 130 seedlings. Suddenly transformed that park into a public place where people can celebrate their birthdays. So all change has happened because 8th class student Jafar believed what he heard and started acting. I mean, this is what we need to appreciate, inculcate these values in the people. I'll just give you a last one case study of another 8th class people. This is what we did in way back in 2009. The Gurunadam Cheru cleanup in Mayapur. It's 13 lakes are there and a network of lakes. So from our EPIC, we started. The purpose of this particular slide is to just bring your attention to this Aditya, who is an 8th class student from Hyderabad Public School, Begumpet. And for 5 hours in May, he was not stopping even once in cleaning up the muck from the lake bed. And his father, who is a bank employee, used to even give him water, but he didn't stop. I was quite impressed by this 8th class student, Jean. So I wrote a very nice letter to the principal of HPS Begumpet. And the next day, that fellow became a celebrity in the school. And the principal called him in the morning prayer meeting and then said, Aditya is a really great fellow and everybody should follow Aditya in environmentalism. So subsequently, they were never looking back. He did projects with WWF for Save the Sparrow campaign, as well as when he went to Sabarimala, he actually brought the plastic pollution issue to my notice from there, saying that a lot of plastic is being dumped. And that's where I took it up with the Environment Management Agency of Kerala, and they have set up special teams. And that's when the ban on plastic in Sabarimala started. I mean, all this because one student believed in the cause and then was restless till it is done. I mean, this earlier we used to do this rangoli with rice flour. Nowadays it's all artificial for our own convenience. But kindly, can you just put some rice or whatever food grains on that and see what happens by evening? You will be supplying the many things to a food chain. We have been promoting this. I think Dr. Subbarao Garu knows it. Way back in 2010, we started this campaign. We started an SMS campaign. Summer is coming, birds are flying, they need water. So on your terrace, you keep some water. It was a big successful campaign 10 years back and still going on. These are visuals from the 22nd May done by our corporation employees, both on their homes and in the forest, which is where we can ensure the birds and animals live a little longer. The last slide is on the Miyawaki plantation, which our corporation has taken for NTPC, how we have transformed a dry area like this into a forest within 4 months. I mean, this is something intensive planting. This is where we can do it and then convert a nice ecosystem into that. In our botanical garden, we have not gone for small plantings. We got 15 feet tall seedlings and now transforming the whole landscape. Already the moment the plants are planted, we are seeing birds coming and perching on them. So it's a wonderful initiative. So my urge to all the people who have taken time off to participate in this webinar is let us do something on our own and leave the world in a better place to live than when we are at. Thank you so much for your patient hearing, because when the speakers were being introduced, I was smiling because I was remembering the Earth Overshoot Day, which says the time was taken by our introducer so much that we are left with less time in terms of that. So thank you so much for your time, and I would request Dr. Shastri Garu to continue with the panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sri Raghuveer Garu. Very enlightened talk we heard. We convey our appreciation to you, sir. Now I would call upon the fourth speaker of the day,